Look closely at the Gmelina Arborea tree, known in traditional practice as Gambhari or White Teak. It presents a stark physical dichotomy. On one hand, deep, rugged gray bark. On the other, a smooth, sweet, golden fruit. This physical split mirrors a complex clinical paradox, a single plant serving as both a heavy, targeted tissue repair agent and a systemic energy tonic. This dual action secured Gambhari's position in the foundational architecture of Ayurvedic medicine. It is the fourth critical component of the Brihat Panchamula, a cornerstone formulation utilized by physicians for millennia. The historical datasets documenting its efficacy are extensive. We see precise, targeted applications recorded from the early verses of the Atharvaveda through to the highly structured clinical manuals of Charaka and Sushruta. Modern pharmacology often struggles with texts of this age, tending to dismiss their broad clinical classifications as generalized folk remedies or vague tonics. Modern phytochemical extraction provides a different perspective. When we isolate the specific compounds within Gambhari, the data validates the highly specific tissue repair claims made by those ancient physicians. We can track this by investigating two primary clinical axes where Gambhari dominates: hepatoprotective action for the liver and spleen, and neuroprotective action for the central nervous system. Mapping classical pharmacology against modern molecular biology unlocks a historically proven, highly optimized therapeutic framework. Gambhari is a large, deciduous tree thriving across the tropical forests of India, stretching from the woods of Uttar Pradesh and Bengal down through the coastline of Kerala. Its clinical application follows a strict morphological divide. Physicians extract compounds from the hard, dense bark for targeted structural repair, using heavy decoctions to address deeper pathologies like hepatic fibrosis and acute nerve damage. The sweet fruit operates on a different vector as a supreme systemic rejuvenator. Its classical energetics profile, sweet, bitter, unctuous, and hot, allows these compounds to simultaneously pacify both erratic vata and inflammatory pitta doshas. The Atharvaveda further categorizes it as kshirini, meaning it yields a milky sap. In the classical framework, the presence of this sap signals inherent brahmana, or deep tissue nurturing, properties. In classical pharmacology, form dictates function. The physical energetics of the plant determine how it will alter human biochemistry. Let's test this biochemistry against the body's primary filtration organ. Charaka and Sushruta issue an exact mandate. Gambhari bark is a frontline treatment for Yakrit pliha, the classical designation for disorders of the liver and spleen. To execute this function, the plant deploys a highly specific sesquiterpene known as arborone. Arborone promotes hepatocyte regeneration, stabilizing cell membranes to prevent death. A chart shows elevated ALT and AST enzyme levels rapidly normalizing, halting hepatic stress. It also exhibits strong anti-fibrotic activity, arresting the pathways causing permanent scarring. Clinical reality often requires system-wide support. The standard Ayurvedic liver formula combines Gambhari bark with extracts of. This translates to nerve weakness, a precise conceptualization of what we now identify as neuropathy. Modern analysis reveals the mechanism Vagbhata was utilizing, a furanoid diterpene called gmelofurin. Gmelofurin establishes a chemical shield at the cellular level that stops oxidative free radicals from destroying delicate nerve cells. It actively downregulates neuroinflammation, suppressing key inflammatory markers like TNF-alpha. It also inhibits the enzyme acetylcholinesterase, preserving acetylcholine levels to improve memory retention and neural signaling. Structurally, it fortifies the myelin sheath around nerve fibers, preventing physical degradation. To treat nerve signaling disorders, classical physicians built a targeted formula, combining Gambhari with ashwagandha and Brahmi. These adjuvants act as molecular carriers, enhancing the delivery and absorption of gmelofurin into the nervous system. Vagbhata's formulation for Nadi Dorbalya was, in practice, an advanced delivery system for neuroprotective furanoid diterpenes. We now look at the systemic effects of Gambhari's golden fruit. Classical texts claim it possesses a property called shramagamnam, the ability to destroy chronic fatigue. This restorative effect is driven by a class of cellular isolates known as phenylethanol glycosides. Operating at the mitochondrial level, these glycosides accelerate ATP production, our biological energy currency. This saturation creates an adaptogenic effect, increasing stamina. Concurrently, they act as free radical scavengers, protecting DNA telomeres from age-related degradation. This genetic protection correlates to Gambhari's classical classification as Ayusha, identifying it as a substance that promotes longevity and delays aging. The Ayurvedic term Anuttama Rasayana is the classical terminology for systemic mitochondrial optimization. We are looking at a masterclass in tripartite pharmacological action: hepatic repair driven by arborone, neurological repair powered by glymelofurin, and systemic vitality fueled by phenylethanol glycosides. These isolated compounds function with high affinity for specific metabolic pathways, moving botanical medicine past generalized tonics. The physicians of antiquity accurately predicted and documented these specific tissue responses centuries before the active compounds were isolated in a laboratory. This integrative pharmacology offers a viable path for addressing the complex chronic diseases we face today. Advancing modern medicine requires treating these historical treatises as empirical datasets that warrant serious biochemical investigation. Combining the clinical architecture of the past with the molecular biology of the present provides an optimized framework for human healing.